Hello and welcome to our next session of the Veil iterations. And this is a game that's being done on the Gauntlet Gaming Calendar, which is an online gaming club. I'm the community manager of that. So that's how that goes, for at least for the moment. We are moving on. We've had a few sessions of build up. We've got some plots in. Today we're going to be doing some furthering on those plots, following up on a particular hook that was left from last time. And then we're going to be at the end kind of reserving some time to talk about the system itself. My name is Lowell, pronouns he, him. We're going to do check-ins and see if there are any start of session things I should know about. Anybody have anything that needs to be resolved start of session? What we'll typically do is I also want to do a quick check through. We didn't necessarily do this last time, but I want to check through and make sure everybody's cool with the questions and entanglements and drives that they have right now. Tyler, are you pretty good with what we have on the table? Do you feel like any of those need to get modified?
Okay, just looking real quick.
Sure.
I think I'm okay though.
Okay. And it looks like you've got joy and power twigged up to 3, but nothing spiked right now, right?
I picked up a new power.
Okay.
Or a new move. I picked up backroom dealings, which allows me to expose a scandal, misstep, or cover up perpetrated by someone with power.
Okay. That is very nice.
Mm-hmm.
Patrick, let's come to you. Are you good with your drives, question, entanglements, all of those things?
Yes, I am good with them. I don't know if my drive is the deepest one ever, but I am fine with it, and it is propelling me forwards in ways, so it's good for the moment. And I really like the other two.
Okay. Also, don't forget you can clear all your marked cybernetics. We'll apply these since we're going to do a short session this time. We're going to clear today. We'll have the things apply for this and the next session. And you're spiked on something. Yes, you're spiked on power.
Yes,
that's right. That's right. And you've still got some harm that you need to declare as well, I believe.
Yes, I've been hit quite in the face.
Okay. And then Marley, are you still good with your drives, questions, entanglements?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I am. Yeah, I'm good.
No okay, more. All right. If anything does come up, just say. And did you clear all your spikes, or do you still have a spike that you
did? I finally cleared fear.
Okay, that's right. So that's good for you. And then Heller, it looks like you've got a couple harm that you can clear here.
Yeah, someone shot me.
Yes,
I can clear it. We're just all clear.
You only had 2 harm because you marked your armor to clear that. So
those all go away.
Those go away. You're not spiked. Are you good with your entanglements and such?
Yeah, I think so. I kind of enjoy them. I got, what do you say? I've got reasons to do a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So at the end of last session, you had broken into this facility. And by facility, I mean this place where these guys were holed up with some weapons and things. You were able to take them out. I won't say pretty handily, but you did a good job neutralizing them before you were able to kind of get a chance to question them as to why they had blown up that previous lab. And what was their connection with this whole Cosmos Brotherhood and Apollonian Industrial and so on. And so we're kind of taking up, like, in that sort of immediate aftermath, we'll assume that you all have taken what you can, and you've moved to a secondary secure location. So, yes,
Lowell, I would like to use my last strategize.
Okay.
I found something here worth 1 capital.
What do you think that would be like here?
Do we think that I learned something about who these guys work for, or do we think there's some piece of? There didn't seem like there was much tech in this place.
Now, I think what's more likely, if we're asking questions on that and the capital, I think what you're actually going to find is more like there's a cache of the explosives and tools and things that they had to do the kind of demolition stuff, the kinds of things that you could black market sell down pretty easily after this to get them cleared out. Their stuff, nothing cutting edge, and it still leaves kind of the question as to exactly who they are, which is where we're going to take up right now.
Gotcha. Cool.
Sound good? Oh, it does remind me. Let me quickly go through our kind of stars and wishes for this. One, following up on Marley's brother. That's one piece there. Sherry also wanted to dig into family complications and the question of multiple riddles. Tyler wants to see Gwen and family things. And let's see, Sherry's there. Wow, my handwriting is terrible right there. Like, it's terrible. Wishes, donuts, wish to push forward, not push forward, wish to push forward on the Dollbot. Power spike out, playing this out. Donuts. I don't think donuts is doubts, I think is what it said, not I don't know. There are times
Very
when
impressionistic.
it is just
and
it's a good
clearly
thing I don't try to
powdered
write in
sugar comes
cursive.
in
Yeah.
somewhere.
Yes. No, but I will show you so you can see this is kind of what my notes look like there, that bottom corner there. So mind you, I'm trying to look at the camera while I'm writing, so I have a modest excuse. So at the secondary location, kind of off the grid, we'll assume that it's Gabriel, right? Okay. I'll assume that Gabriel has gotten this place relatively secure. And you've got a couple of these guys. And I'm going to assume that the others you've either like turned over to rent-a-cops and paid for them to be temporarily incarcerated, or you've cut them loose.
Yeah, I would have called in and used some of my influence to get them held up at least.
Okay. Yeah. So you got a couple of these guys, and one of them is the guy who, at the end of the last session, when you're questioning them, said that it was all about the aliens. And so in dramatic, like in between episode purposes, we ignore that there's been some time passing, and they're there. So what is this kind of place that you've got set up here, Tyler? Is it more of a pleasant place? Is it more of an industrial place? What do we think we're seeing here?
I think this is probably more like a holdout, hideout sort of. It's not going to be upscale. It's probably in a basement underneath like a warehouse or some shop front. It's bare bones. It's a place to go and hold up.
Okay. And Marley, how are you feeling after that combat? And like some things were revealed, but then a lot of stuff wasn't. And like, what's your reaction right now?
I feel kind of bad for dragging them into that, since I did provide the information like, oh, I think this is where they are. I think they have something interesting there. And then there was nothing interesting there except for people who shot at us. Also, I'm worried about my brother who called me and like about some emergency, and I don't know what that was about.
Yeah, so that's still sort of hanging out in the air. Heller, what about you? What's your reaction to the present circumstances?
Oh, that's right. I'm Heller. I'm sorry. I was
You
waiting
are.
to hear what Heller was going to say.
I'm very interested
Very
to know
polite.
what Heller has to say.
This is the thing is everyone had like super exciting things happen. For me, it was just the schwa of the aliens, and wanting to understand that because Heller and Riddle are planning to like build this thing. So if it's aliens, this is, I don't know, it's either really cool or really horrible. So that's right now probably where most of their attention is.
Okay.
He hasn't heard the thing about, just how dangerous it is to be a singer with a song catalog at this moment. I think that's where his stuff is. So
Okay.
because I have the impression that he wasn't there when that discussion was had. So so I suppose he's all about the aliens.
Okay. And Riddle, you're still spiked on power. What do we see of you at this present moment?
So I also have a lot of question marks about the whole alien comment. But I think Riddle's getting sort of fed up with these jobs from Gabriel keep going weird and sideways. I mean, we never would have even found this lab if it weren't for whatever wild goose chase Gabriel's bosses had him going on. Does he, is getting coffee for them not enough?
So, Gabriel, this guy seated there, he's wondering what the next step is going to be. He's said what he's going to say. Like, what is the line of questioning that you are leaning into? How do you want to approach that?
Well, it seemed like Heller was right there beside me and interested. So I think I'm maybe going with good cop, bad cop, and let Heller be the dangerous one. You certainly look more dangerous than me, I would guess. And
he has no common sense. I would look more dangerous. If he has any common sense, he would know the corp guy is always the most dangerous guy in the room.
But I think that as well, like the others, I'm going aliens, you say.
So let's do this. I don't think it's a question of sway. I think you've got them in a position where you're going to get information here. And neither that nor ultimatum really applies. I think this is a kind of an assess, allowing you to kind of frame up the questions. So what do you want to roll that with, Gabriel? And certainly Heller can assist.
Okie dokie. I think that I am coming out of this with frustration. This isn't exactly what I'd wanted to do. I think it's probably in that. I think I'm going bad.
Okay.
And I very foolishly had not pulled up the die roller. So give me 2 seconds. Boom. Okay. So rolling. Thankfully, I have a +1. That's a 7.
Okay. So give me, let's start with sort of like what is the basic query you're putting to him, and then I'm going to let you follow up, spend your hold to give us like a more specific follow-up. So what are you saying to him?
You have given no proper explanation to what you mean, why you had to blow up that facility. what do you mean by aliens? What was there that makes you believe? I'm assuming you mean extraterrestrial and not just the Canadians living here illegally.
He says, we had to destroy that place because it was it was dangerous. It was contaminating. The stuff had been buried away, and now it was let out.
I give a kind of side eye to the rest of the crew, especially Heller there beside me.
That's the general info. So what's your specific question? Like you get an assess, like a
Right.
question here. Like
Okay.
what do you want to, what is it you want to know?
I want to know why he thinks there's aliens involved with what these things were. Yeah,
That
seems
that's the perfect phrasing for it.
okay.
He says, we were working for Apollonian, one of the branches there, and there were things that were going on, developments that were going on, projects that we didn't quite understand what was happening with them. Mind you, I'm not, any other guys weren't like in the know text. We were working secondary from this. We had to piece together, but they were building a new bioform. They do that, synthetic tech, biomanipulation, like biosculpting, all that kind of thing. Like that's, but it was different and it was weird, and it became clear to us from interacting with the people who were like actually in the know that there was something else that was going on. And they were receiving a transmission from aliens in deep space, providing the blueprints to build these bio things. And they didn't quite know exactly how to do that. And then when they built them, the aliens beamed down their consciousnesses into these bodies. But some shit went wrong at that point. And I don't know whether it was some of our team or some of the people who were in working. I mean, because like we just saw it, like the place got flooded, and some of us got out, and like we were just glad to get out. And when we heard that they were going to be draining the place, we were afraid that shit was going to get out.
Stupid mute button. I see. And I'm gonna kind of pull folks back just a little, give us a tiny bit of space. I will say I'm willing to pay a cost if we have another question, something follow-up-y, one of the things we want to do here. But I'm kind of looking, one of y'all actually communicated. Was that you, Marley? You communicated with the people in the body things.
Yeah, I did. And they didn't. It's kind of silly to say they didn't seem like aliens, because who knows what aliens seem like. but they seemed human, but very confused. They didn't seem like they knew what was going on at all. They thought they were at a party.
And just to check in, we have never had alien contact on our planet as far as we know, correct?
That is correct. It is as absurd as you imagine.
Okay. Do we really believe that aliens sent them blueprints to make goo bodies so that they could inhabit them and be underwater at a party?
We have those, you know, like we have the sort of thing that was made from that. There's something that looks wildly like strange and different, or is this just kind of, you know, a set of, how do you say, like iterations on what already exists? It's
As I said last time, it was very difficult for you, given your analysis, to kind of make sense of exactly what was going on there, and it did feel incomplete to you, so you didn't have a full picture.
Right, I understand that, but what I was seeing is, I guess what I'm asking is, was I seeing things like power sources that you know, were mind-blowingly different and alien? You know, does that make any sense, or does it look like the same sort of pieces and parts that we have used and reused, but reconfigured?
What you saw is possible using the tech that you have now. I'm not saying that it looks like the tech that you have now.
Okay, understand that.
I'm more worried about the secretive zealous maniacs with bombs who are trying to clean up any clue or involvement of this whole thing. How sure are you of the general security of this, I want to say, storage basement? Are those Christmas lights?
This is a very secure location. Don't worry, Rebel. And yes, it is a storage place for most of the holiday lights for the Dionysus group Christmas party, but that's not the same thing. They're very expensive, and we make sure security is quite high. Well, this is where I'd be willing to spend a cost here, and I'd throw to you, Heller, if you want to declare something about what we're getting here, unless you have a greater question.
I mean, my thing is they're talking that it's aliens and a transmission from deep space. I'm like, was it really from deep space, or is this an AI thing and a transmission from, you know, a set of AIs? The whole thing about them going to parties sounds the thing. So I think that's it. Is convince me it's not AIs, if that makes any sense.
Is that the question? Or are you asking? It was a signal from?
It was a signal from deep space. Yeah. Like, what is the thing for this signal from deep space? Like, what were the coordinates?
He will pull out a pad with some stuff, and you've gotten some material from before, like stuff that Riddle lifted, so you can see that this is some of the things. It's a lot of it is like he worked very basic workflow and things. You could recognize that he worked on like some of the myomer synth muscle and nerve things that you saw in the body. And again, the sense you get from his discussion is that everything was very compartmentalized for them, so nobody quite knew what the whole picture was. But he will show you a telemetry thing, and what's the reason they kind of freaked out, and it shows that like the initial like data burst that they got, it doesn't have the data burst, but it has the telemetry on it, comes from outside Earth's orbit.
Well, shit. Isn't that something?
How far outside Earth's orbit?
Like, that's an entirely like a question they don't have the answer to. But it didn't come from any kind of orbital satellite or bounced from ground to Earth.
This is very interesting.
I told you guys.
And so what did these things
I
do?
should tell you the other thing, though, that, and here we get to the cost. Like, we had to bug out of the site after we blew it up because there was a full Apollonian team that were in the area. And that's why we went to ground, because they painted us. And they painted all the people that were around in the area with marking tags.
Does that mean we got painted?
You don't know.
That's it. Riddle is going to go to one of the walls here and start like physically peeling back the layers of the veil until like the sort of vector line coding understructure of this basement is clear. And I want to use my new move.
What is your new move?
My new move is Cryptomancer. When you lock down, block off, or encrypt a section of the digital environment. So I want to try and seal away this area, this basement, from the veil, from the digital parts of things.
Well, go ahead and roll with power at 0.
I'm gonna tap my network nerve endings as the I guess like pieces of code come floating out of his fingertips and melting into the what's on the wall there and start changing things.
Absolutely.
Mark off that thing. Do that. Get some dice. I have a thing. And they're gonna roll amazingly. It's an 8. That's not a 2, so I'll take it.
Okay. Yeah. If you get protection laid down on this environment, it will last until someone like finds it and throws time and experts against it.
Cool. So it's not the 10 plus is like it's really well hidden off. This isn't necessarily hidden, but it is protected and like firewalled.
Right.
Cool.
Riddle, what are you doing?
Upgrading your security. If his friends want to erase evidence, his enemies want to erase evidence, all of them are following each other, and you have several of them sitting in this basement here. So let's just take some steps to make sure no one's setting bombs around us.
Very smart. Well, yes.
And then I'm gonna kind of lean forward. Go, what do you mean by the corruption, by the stuff that was spreading?
So I only got a sight of them a couple of times moving around in those bodies, but I was told by one of the techs that was working with them that eventually they manifested and made another of themselves, but this other self wasn't physical. Or rather, it was physical, but it shouldn't be. They manifested the veil and became like generated like a thing, like a body out of the veil itself. And that's when the researchers tried to lock everything down, because if they got out to the Greater Vale,
I started to look over at Riddle. Did anything get out of there?
I don't know. I mean, it was a pretty open network before we got there.
And he kind of looks at you and he does that. So isn't there some guy we have to go find? Like he's making a reference to the temple.
Yeah, I've been needing to talk to you about that, Gabriel.
Yes.
The payment for the last job that we're caught in a basement from the aftermath from that I still haven't gotten.
This is not a job I hired you for. But your last job, yes, your payment.
Well, if you haven't noticed, I need some repairs, but that's just operational costs. I figured since you've been complaining about being a little poor recently, I wouldn't stress your resources that way, but I need you to find someone and set up a meeting for
me. I could probably arrange that. Who?
I'll pass over the very scanned information that I have about Dokuchi. And the White Room. And I'll just, since I'm continuing to be in a power snit and unpleasant, and keep asking for things, I'll push on. I think I have an obligation on you.
You do.
So for my payment, I'd like you to fix my suit and to find this person and get me a connection with them.
Does that feel like one or two obligation that you're clearing there?
Do you have two?
I don't. I have one.
So you can clear, if you do that again, you can clear obligation and gain an XP, Gabriel.
I will agree to that. And at earliest convenience, I will. I'll spend 2 capital to get you that invitation. That's a lot of money's worth. I'll give you a cred.
What sort of trash tech do you think I'm walking around? A cred.
It was, your invitation was also quite expensive.
Let me come to Marley here briefly, if I may, and then I want to come back to Heller. Okay. Marley, you will notice after Riddle does what he does that you lose outside signal.
Cool. That sounds good after what that guy just said. Except that I do need to get hold of my brother.
Yeah, that's the thing is you realize that can no longer call out.
Yes, I think I kind of looked over at Heller. I was like, I have to go make a call where we have signal. I'll be right back, and go outside, trying not to call attention to myself in case I don't know where we are, where this building is. But
tell me what's the business that's upstairs from this safe house, Marley?
It's a gym.
Okay. Yeah. Walk up. It has that smell of sweat and ketones and various scented steroids.
Yep.
In all the different flavors that you can get from the dispensers there, and a little bit of that kind of scent around here as you make your way up, and yeah, you can call your brother's phone again.
Yeah, so I do that.
Let me have you roll. Let's do risk here. Let's see where the state
Okay.
is at here.
All right. Oh, right. I'm looking for stats. What is my state here? Yeah, I think we're back on the fear track again here.
Okay. Let's
'Cause
run
I'm
that one back
worried.
up, shall we?
I haven't talked to him lately, and I have not gotten a panicked phone call from him in a long time. Like this is not a normal occurrence. Something is wrong. So oh yeah, and I'm rolling with 0. Awesome. I should maybe add something to fear next time I advance, because that's a 5.
That is a 5. So I think that you will call and somebody will pick it up. And they will say, new phone, who dis?
Is this a voice I recognize or
No. And you can tell
No.
that it's probably masked, like they've got an electronic filter on it.
Yeah. Hold on, let me see if I have anything I can do with this.
I want to establish a fact here. The voice says something as you kind of are listening, and you feel a ping in your cyber ear. Now, you have the cyber ear in part because this is one of the few things that your brother helped you to get, like arrange for you to get this cyber ear a while back. But there's a weird ping that comes that you hear, and the voice on the other end of the phone says, "You have the ear."
Who is this?
I'm willing to make an exchange. This gentleman for the ear.
Why do you need an ear? Who are you? What's
I
going
will
on?
call you back in 90 minutes with details on how we will conduct this exchange.
Right then.
Are you amenable to that?
Yes.
Hangs up.
Cool.
What do you do?
I have all these moves, and none of them quite. All of them require some seriously creative uses if I'm going to use any of them for this. But
well, let me have you think about that. About what Marley's reaction, what they are thinking right now. Let me come back to Heller.
Yeah, I think Heller's kind of standing there watching Riddle give Gabriel a hard time and sort of waiting for that moment when the whole thing is kind of concluded. And then he's going to lean into Riddle and go, "What'd you do in that room? What'd you do in that temple?"
What?
Did you let it out there?
What? No, I was just trying to.
You
I'm
let it
used to
out there, didn't you?
There were some safety procedure protocols that maybe I didn't follow everyone to the step. I was in a hurry.
So you let it out there, and it's out.
It's not even in it. It's not like some sort of sentient programming. It's just personality fragment loops. It's not even anything important. Memory fragments at most.
So you saw them?
No, I didn't see anything. It's just purple. Upsettingly purple.
And stuff. So it was sort of like you didn't understand what it was.
But no, I'm saying there wasn't anything to see. If there was something to see, I would have understood it.
Then why couldn't you fix it?
Well, obviously I could fix it, but I don't have the time to spend studying and reverse engineering. It's just easier to go to the source and work from that.
Which source?
Dokuchi.
He made the house. He didn't make the guests you let in.
What? No, we're talking about fixing the room.
And that would get rid of the guests you left in there?
Yes, it'll clear any foreign programming bits left lodged in the cache.
You better find a Gucci.
I'm working on finding him.
Well, you got a cred to your name now, so. And I'm kind of going to turn back to Gabriel and go, hey, I don't know what this thing is, but if it is a danger, there's something that Riddle and I probably need to go take care of.
I'm not entirely sure what any of you are talking about. You're wanting to find someone, Riddle. I will put all resources behind finding them and getting you an invitation to their presence. Marley, where's Marley? That brought me here with the thought that we might be getting something valuable. You, Heller, were quite insistent that I come. Speaking of, did I fulfill my obligation to get an XP?
Yes.
Thank you. I came.
You did. And here's the thing. I thought I could, if I could get the original instructions, actually build this thing right. Here's the thing. I still didn't know what it was. I was going to have to build it to figure it out. This guy says some kind of transmissible intelligence.
You said there was some sort of, or do you think, Riddle, did you trap some of these things somewhere? Is that what we're discussing? You're muted, my love.
No, I didn't trap anything. It's just the ones in the original lab after they came and uploaded and whatever they did and then left. I just, copied a lot of the infrastructure and rebuilt it line by line, but not with any of the details or personality or memory sets or anything that's running it. Just the sort of empty sleeve, digitally speaking.
Then he let it out into a digital meditation hall.
Oh, no, that's... I see the confusion. No, that's a whole different form of... No, they're just personal things that I've been... Totally different problems.
What then?
So it wasn't the code that you took from the lab that blew the temple up.
No. Now
I do have to ask a question here. So because it has been a while, Riddle, you are lying to them, right?
Not
because
purposefully.
Yeah, I don't think so.
That was what you were going through, was the materials that you took from the lab. when you had the
I
issue
was
with that.
building that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
I just want to be clear. I want to know whether you're lying deliberately or by omission or whatever.
No,
So
not entirely.
okay.
I was thinking about because
I think there is a moment when you're talking when you go, oh.
No, I didn't let it out. It was that whole procedure was contained. I did my work there, and that's back in my personal data sphere. No. The things that got out, that was a totally different, although possibly simultaneous issue.
So the purple is personal.
Yes, although that was pretty extreme. Purple glitches don't tend to expand much beyond my personal data sphere, and that was unique. No, it's definitely, it's almost certainly. I need to go check some things.
I'll go look for Marley.
If you'll excuse me, I will try to find this gentleman. A gentleman, is that correct?
Last I heard. Fairly secretive, high-end designer, so I don't know. Be nice?
I will find them and try and arrange you an audience. This place should continue to be safe. You've done your work, Riddle, here.
For now, I'll let you know if the security is breached.
What do we do with our guest?
Well, isn't the Apollonian folks after him?
Yes.
Mm,
We may need him in the future.
I don't know. Could let him stay at one of your places.
He said about the safest place, I think, right now.
Give him the option. Buy some soda. He'll be good for a while.
Do you have a folding cot?
I can arrange for something to be brought and him to be handled.
No, look, we should keep knowledge about this pretty close, especially them. That's the point of the security architecture. It won't let anything digital in and out, so the four of us are the only possible information leaks. Start telling more people, the information starts leaking faster.
I can arrange for deliveries if you would like to make sure he's taken care of. I mean, otherwise, we turn him over to the police or I shoot him.
I'm saying maybe rather than arranging for, we, do.
Well, yes, arranging is doing. Yes.
The personal nature of it, the more hands that you delegate to, the more activity that's going on in and around and out of this building, this location.
Hey, you give me like, I don't know, 20 pennies. I'll go out and buy enough for him to have food for a week, okay? Bring it back here.
Excellent. See,
Call that arranging, call that doing.
there we are.
Heller, I think as you kind of step out, you probably will see Marley. Marley, what are you excited? Are you angry? Are you nervous? Like, what does Heller see?
I am pacing back and forth, muttering, fuck. But did you what's going on, Tim?
I'm like, hey, Marley, hey, you want to go to the grocery with me?
Sure, why not? I will get a call at some point and I may have to disappear suddenly, but yes, let's
So
go.
why do you have to disappear?
Well, it seems like my brother's been kidnapped.
What? Why did you
Yes,
lead with that?
That's all I know. I don't know what the hell is going on. They want my cyber ear.
And I
give
sort of
it-
stop
give it
and I
back?
go, why? Is it a really good cyber ear?
No, it's terrible.
I'll take my drone out, and I'll
It
go, wait,
broke
wait,
this
look.
morning.
And I'll do a scan on it. I have excellent analysis.
Sure.
the thing.
I don't think there's a role that's necessary. You will run your scan over Marley's ear, and on the outside it looks like your normal cyber ear, but it is super sophisticated on the inside.
I'm like, ooh.
It is high-tech proto, like you're like, wow, this is like it's translating with wide frequencies in a way I haven't seen cyber ears do. And oh yeah, and it looks like a very nice bespoke or limited run ear.
I'm like, oh wait, let me see if I can make a copy of that. And then you can give it to him and I'll make you a new one. How about that?
Sure. I mean, my brother got it for me. He said he wanted. He said it would make me safer. I could hear people coming. And it works for that most of the time. But then it's randomly stops working, and I get this, ringing in my head. And yes, please copy it.
All right.
The components alone for this thing would visit like a year's worth of salary for you, Heller.
But still, I could sell it to Gabriel, the plans, and get two made for that, right?
If well, depending on, but we'll come back to that.
Okay.
Let's take our first break here. Let's break to till 10 after, and then let's do the Heller Marley shopping trip, and Gabriel doing his investigations, and then we'll swing back to Riddle. Okay. So we'll take till 10 after. So, Heller, like, what kind of mart do you go to? Is it is it a cyber bodega, or is it like an Instamart, or what kind of place are you going to spend these pennies to make them stretch into like comfortable? Well, I mean, for food.
So here's the thing is I eat on the cheap all the time. So I know what you do is you buy the basics, are the food cubes that have the 3 food cubes for the day are your dailies that you need. It's got the vitamins and the cows. And then you buy an array of sauces and different liquids to drink with it, so it's all palatable. And then if you have any left over, you get like something awesome, like, I don't know, some noodles with lots of salty broth that they can have alongside of it, and those sorts of things. You get things that have like a ton of flavor, because the cubes, they're like anti-flavor.
Okay. And so yeah, you can do that shopping. Marley, do you think that you get the phone call before you get back to the group, or do you want to have the phone call once you've gotten back? So, or like how would you like the sequence of that to occur? Are you planning on telling Gabriel or Riddle?
Yeah, I mean, I probably will tell them, just because because I might disappear, and I don't want them to think that I've I'm selling them out to someone or anything like that.
So what, you come back, you've got this big bags of industrial food for this guy that you're going to hold here. Then let's do this. Let's do Gabriel's research thing. Then let's have you return and kind of give them the spiel on what's going on. Gabriel, you have to now step out of the safe house to go and make calls. What are you trying to do?
Yeah. We're looking for someone that's, you know, probably more than I can fiat away. I am thinking using one of my services. Here's my basic idea. You tell me where it needs to modify.
Sure.
I have the ability to either secrets or VIP access or support for others to try and get this meeting set up for Riddle. Or is it a matter of I need to find out who this person is and all that sort of stuff?
Yeah, I think it's more a question is it's from the discussions that he had with the previous person. This is somebody who's kind of off the grid in some ways, and curmudgeonly, and kind of an expert at like containing the veil and so on. So I think you do need to track them down first.
Okay.
Do you want to do that with study or risk, or what do you think you want to do here?
I mean, my basic needs of doing this sort of thing normally would be looking into information to see if I, you know, it would be trying to pull on assets to get information, like, you know, in the, you know, has anyone heard of this person? How can we, you know,
that study that's you know, using your tools, or actually it's probably lift the veil now that I think about it, actually, because we've got that, because that's the more general, like, information finding move.
Okay.
For you to track things down and get this info.
All righty. See if there's anything I have that's good to use. I don't know if my interface would particularly do that. So, I think I'm probably doing this with, this is normal work for me. So I guess it's probably going to be peace.
Okay.
That's a 6.
That is a 6. Is someone helping you?
Lovely. I mean, Riddle, maybe you have some information to get me started.
Oh, fine. Feel like I'm paying you at this point.
I question why you feel that way.
So you may roll help with power at a 0.
All right.
Does that clear your spike then?
No, I still have 2 spikes in it.
Oh, okay.
I'll have 1 after this. Nope, yep, that. I helped. It's a 5.
It is a 5.
Is the thing where you could use an obligation to give them a 10, does that happen before or after? When does that go into effect?
You can do that before or after, but if you've already rolled, then I don't think it applies, because but somebody has an obligation on you.
Yeah, where is that?
It's in the help move.
It is.
And I don't have an obligation on you.
No, I have one on you. So I could, since you're helping me.
Yeah. So basically, here's what it is. If someone has an obligation, like you owe somebody something.
I see it now.
And you go to help somebody that you owe, you can do that to you know, essentially to clear the obligation, to give yourself plus 10 on the help. That needs to be rewritten to be clear, but it's always,
so actually it would be Patrick who would use it, not me.
Exactly.
I do owe Gabriel an obligation.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. In that case, if you want to burn that, like Gabriel's cool with you, you like paying off that obligation by helping, then you can do that to do the 10 plus. And we can do that retro because this is a rule we're still kind of working through. So do you want to let him clear that, Gabriel?
Yeah, I guess.
Okay.
And it would it, yeah, okay, yes.
Yeah, doesn't give you XP,
No.
but it does push you up to a 7 on that lift the veil.
I think it goes up to oh yeah, I go up to a 10. He goes up to 7.
Yep.
I go to a, yeah.
So what you will find out, let me give you some basics, and then you can tell me if you want to pay a cost to do a more involved follow-up to this, Tyler.
Mhm.
So Takuchi is a former like expert architect from about 5-6 years ago, like was at the height of his powers, and then was already considered eccentric, but very cutting edge, especially on the ability to encrypt and cut off and slice and partition the veil in a way that other people weren't able to do, and to get past certain kinds of corporate and government security setups. At some point in that, something happened. It's unclear what, but he converted to Paleo Buddhism, which believes that the soul, the essences within the body, is dangerously endangered by the presence of signals and transmissions and things that corrupt the body that you're in. That the presence of microwaves and signals and information, and that transformation of the body can permanently transform for the negative and corrupt your essentially your immortal essence. And he went off the grid at that point.
Okay.
There are some places that work like with that are deliberately off the grid areas. Some of them are like specially set up places in the city, but there are also encampments of Paleo Buddhists and Edenists out in the fringes and the swamps, like the areas that Marley comes from. And I think with that information, you should be able to like track back to where he's at.
Okay. Could I then spend 2 capital to give VIP access? Is there some means that the guild has to entice him to accept someone coming to visit?
I think it's not that you mean, yeah, you can do that, but what it is you're paying that capital to somebody else who it will act as an intermediary. And essentially you're clearly talking to somebody higher up in the informal organization, who still has a foot in the real world, who will gladly accept your donation and will say, Master Dokuchi very much keeps to himself. And while I can arrange and persuade him to meet with you, I cannot speak for his temperament when he does that. You'll understand that certain things are outside of one's control.
That's perfectly fine. And in fact, it is a petitioner I am working on the behalf of that will be meeting with him.
We'll make clear to your petitioner that Master Dokuchi's attitude may not be harmonious with their interests.
Thank you very much for your candor.
Thank you very much for your sizable donation.
Yes, of course. And as I cut the transmission, I sort of think of this encounter and
And I think that's the point at which Marley and Heller return with the food. Marley, what do you tell them?
Yeah, definitely not where our prisoner can hear. But yeah, whichever of them is available. I probably run into Riddle first. Hey, is it you keep blinking in and out there? I can see your not your face, but your suit under the projection.
I know it's been a rough day. I just
I mean, I'm not criticizing it. Are you okay?
Well, I suppose technically, although there has been a 30% uptick of internal moisture in the suit, which obviously means that external atmosphere forces are, it's just it's just the full, security seal of the suit is not, it's compromised, but not majorly compromised, but I can feel it.
That sounds very unpleasant. Listen, I just want you and Gabriel to know I might have to disappear suddenly. And I just don't want you to think I don't know, like selling information about this or anything.
Okay, well, I have to admit that wasn't the first thought, although now I'm thinking about it since you brought it up.
No, look, my brother's been kidnapped and I'm supposed to get a call telling me the details of how to get him back, and they want my cyber ear, which apparently is way more technically advanced than I thought it was.
What do you mean
no
more
excuse
advanced?
for being so
Really
terrible.
cool.
Advanced like how?
I just kind of gesture at Heller, like
I'm like,
he
it's picking up
studied
all
it.
kinds of frequencies. And I'm like, I'll open up the schematics that I've managed to extract with my drone. Look at this.
Is it advanced like Dollbots from Space Advanced?
No, it's advanced like heavy duty industry. Someone put a bunch of money into it. Yes.
Do you want to
or
make
no?
a study move, Heller? So I can give
Ooh,
you
sure. I would
like,
happily do that.
okay.
Let's see here. And I do have the thing of, because of my my
Yeah. And when I say study, I mean assess. I apologize.
so I have like I have a +1 when I assess. So that means I get a thing.
An additional hold.
An
Yes.
additional hold, yeah. So when I go to do this, let's see here. I will probably use probably use my sleeve transmitter and the recording element of it. Can I use that, or is it the other gear that I can use? Like I can cross that off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So so I will cross that off. And I think that gives me advantage on the roll.
That gives you a +1 forward on the roll, unless you have a move that lets you do that with advantage.
I have a move that is but it's when I said sorry. I
That's
do
okay.
have a move for that.
Okay.
It's called Overclocker. So it's when I use a piece of cyber gear to take advantage.
Yep.
So
yeah, then go ahead and roll 3d6 plus the stat that you have.
Yeah, I'll probably use power, which I think is 1. So 3d6. And I'm just gonna do the so 10 plus 1 is an 11.
Okay, so you have 3 hold.
Okay, so I have 3 hold. Ooh.
So I assume the first question is, okay, what does this thing do? Why is it?
Yes.
So one of the things is that people have cyber ears, and a lot of them are simply hearing aids and things like that, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of the things is that there's hearing that does that wide frequency, a broader range of the spectrum. The problem is that the human brain is not exactly set to understand that set of frequencies. So there is a set of conversions that are done to convert it, and they never sound quite right. They never sound right. They always sound weird because of the nature of them, because the artificial. This ear and this mechanical setup seems to, rather than takes a different approach to doing that conversion, and actually makes it such that the range that you can hear in is significantly wider, and it all sounds natural.
Oh, so like when things that you normally couldn't hear because their range is so high or something, like a mosquito buzzing or something, actually is just, it's within your audible, but
Yeah,
like
and
a lot of what
it doesn't
you
feel alien, doesn't sound alien, but it opens up the spectrum that the sounds that you can hear.
Okay, so I'm like, how long have you had this, Marley?
A couple years.
Ooh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, like since you arrived, and shortly after you arrived, your brother got you that.
Okay, so like 5 years.
So you've been having like super hearing for a long time.
Yeah, my hearing was actually kind of crap before, so it was. I assume that's why my brother thought to get it to me, but it doesn't work as well as something that advanced should. I don't know if maybe it's just connected to my nerves wrong or something.
Yeah, custom fit is a big important thing. So, and I sort of say I would know about that.
Two hold left.
Okay, so let me look at my other questions for that. This is under the.
No, you can ask anything.
Anything. Okay.
That is both your gift and your burden.
Okay. So let's see here. Well, I can also declare something, right?
Yes, you can.
Okay, I will declare that I can get a perfect copy of the schematics. Does that make sense? Or
no, that's more of a physical role thing.
Oh, okay. All right. I could declare that. Okay.
You declare that like you recognize some of the components here, or you recognize some of the tech or something like that. It's about knowledge that you can can piece out of this.
So can I identify who made this in the sense of what corporation or group or guild?
I think you can tell that this is a prototype, and I think that you will find a corp signature like buried in deep for Halcyon.
Ooh, Halcyon. Okay, is this have we heard of Halcyon?
Nope. Halcyon Infinities.
Ooh.
Halcyon Infinities Guild.
That's a name that's reaching out there, but this piece is pretty good. Okay. And
they do headphones like Beats by Halcyon and that kind of thing.
Oh, this is really cool. And I'll tell them that if it's some sort of prototype. And if they're still looking for it 2 years later, or it was stolen, maybe the guy who wants it stole it. Anyway, and then what else? Let's see here.
My brother get it then.
Yeah, I wanna why does it keep going out on Marley?
Because it is such an experimental prototype. Like this is cutting edge, fragile tech that probably would need better regular maintenance.
Oh, like you shouldn't go swimming in the swamp water with
right.
it?
The swamp water probably did it no good.
Yeah.
maybe a little less swamp water. Maybe we could get you one of those bathing caps,
And I think Marley, while you're having to like awkwardly hold your head still as Heller's like oohing and awing over your ear, Riddle will say, "And look, I've got a busy, weird schedule over the next day. I know we all have things going on, but if you need me to totally implode someone's digital life for you, just let me know. It's your brother, so this is."
I don't even know who it is, or I would, yeah, I would be asking right now.
Well, here's the thing is I'm not really keen on having you show up to someone with this thing still in your ear, because I don't know how they're going to take it out. Do you want me to take it out?
Yeah, I think that you're right. I don't really want them taking it out.
Or you could not give them your ear. Have you considered not giving them your ear?
Are we going to get her brother back?
My brother.
Just
I mean,
saying, like,
I've considered doing something to it.
now we're talking. Something sneaky, something underhanded?
I mean, I'm not sure if it'll work. I've been. You do strange things with the veil that affect the physical environment sometimes. So you.
Thank you.
I do too. I'm still figuring out some of it, but I thought maybe I would do something along those lines to this thing.
This is what I was talking about. If you want to calmly hand them a suitcase filled with your ear and hope that they give you your brother back, I support you in that. But if you want to like blow up everything they've ever touched, I'm also good with that.
I was thinking something in between, but but I'll let Heller take it out first. I don't want to do anything with it while it's still attached to me. That would be really bad if I screwed it up.
Cool. Well, I'm gonna go somewhere else because that sounds wet.
Oh,
Yeah.
It might be a little wet.
Yeah, I don't like any of that.
You should probably get your suit fixed.
I'm gonna go get my suit fixed. That's a good idea. Somewhere where I can't hear any of this.
And are you telling Gabriel before you extract the ear?
Yeah, we're going to tell him what it is and that it's a prototype and that it might be good for his stuff.
Oh yeah, because Heller wants to sell him the information.
Yeah, so that we can all get one.
I'm sure that I can find some means to looking into it further, but are you sure you should be extracting cyberware from Marley here in a basement?
Well, it would be better than the kidnapper doing it.
Yes.
We're on a tight timeline here.
Yes, I will assist however I can. If you have something of value or that we could work with, I'd be more than happy to do that. And are you sure you wouldn't like me just to hire a strike force to help you kill these people?
We've got about 20 minutes.
Oh.
20 minutes till they call. I don't know what the arrangements are after that.
Well, the plan is you're going to hand it over to them, right?
Yeah. I mean, but I'm not sure how. I still have to make those arrangements.
Are you asking if I could make a copy of it in the time in between?
Heller has a copy of it.
Heller has a scan of it.
Heller has the scan of it. Okay, right. Yes, got it. Not a copy. Got it.
I can work with the scan however you'd like.
Yeah.
Well, here, look at this.
Yeah. You think this is going to take maybe like weeks in a lab with some experts to manufacture?
Yeah, this
Right,
is
this
not
is-
something that will happen quickly.
No. Which is
No,
why
I
I'm
didn't
afraid I'm
think so.
gonna have to take it out.
I'm really more concerned, Marley, that when you go and deliver this here, they're going to kill you. And your
That's
brother.
crossed my mind.
Well, I'm gonna go too.
I would hate for both of you to die.
Oh, okay. So you're like gonna hire someone who can keep us from getting killed?
Well, I wasn't exact. Would you like for me to help you?
Yes, Gabriel, you see the
Yes.
world completely
Yes.
differently than I do. I'm sorry that I can't.
I'll go with you.
What if they kill you?
Then I won't have to worry about the two of you being killed.
Oh, well, that does solve all of our problems.
Okay, so the idea is for nobody to get killed. That's the whole point of me doing this. So why don't I just go alone?
We should at least keep an eye on you in case you are double crossed.
Yeah, that sounds good. That sounds good. But maybe we don't all approach this person.
I mean, more than likely, they're going to call and tell you to come alone. I mean,
Probably. That's how this usually works, right? I mean, okay, so admittedly, I have never paid ransom for anybody ever, but I've never had anything worth ransoming.
I can believe that.
Right. So you're in the circles where things like this happen. So advice would be good, I guess. Yeah.
If you
because my plan really is to just.
If these scans, and they seem pretty complete, if you can get them to just trade your brother for what they want and you leave, that is a success in my mind.
That's why I gotta take it out of her ear so they don't try to do it themselves.
Sounds good.
Oh, that sounds wet.
Yes.
You do that in the other room.
Okay. It's really less wet than you would think.
So that sound like our plan?
Sounds like a plan. Gabriel, are you going to do anything in the meantime while Heller is extracting the ear?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I mean, hey, can I do that as we had to strategize?
Hang on. I've got a speaker thing downstairs, and sometimes the neighbor's like stereo goes through it at volume 11, and that is what I'm hearing in the background. I have to pause right now. So I don't think a roll is necessary for extracting this. I think you can do this, remove this cyber limb from Marley. That's what you do, Heller, and put it in a nice box.
Yeah. Oh, I clean it up, so just.
It's a little bit of swamp gunk, probably still in the interior here with the balance crystals and things.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, they're gonna have to let that dry out. So
yeah, that explains why my ears kept ringing.
did you hear like a little? Because I think that was just literally the crystals floating back and forth. There's not supposed to be water in there. So
yeah, it was really, it got unpleasant for a little while there.
And
yeah, have to seal that better.
Yeah, the sound is very odd now for you, but your phone will ring, Marley.
Yep, cool. I will answer it.
I am going to send you a transit coupon code. You will use it. You will input your location. An aero car will come pick you up and will take you to a secondary location. Come alone. Hand over the ear, and I will hand over your brother to you.
All right. All right.
and he transmits a code to you.
Cool. Excellent.
Did our
Yeah.
plans count as a strategize?
I beg your pardon? Yes,
Did
yes,
our
it actually,
planning
yeah, absolutely.
All right, let me roll that up so we'll have that
Sure.
available to us real quick. I feel like God, I'm gonna spike out the one that I'm surprised about, but I'm sort of excited about doing this. I mean, they are thrilling, these people. So it's joy.
Okay.
We've made your life more interesting lately.
Yeah, so I got an 8.
Okay.
So yay, that's not so bad. We will get. I have 1, I believe. Yes, hold 1. Someone is alerted to our plans.
Okay. So Marley, if you input this coupon code, they have to put in your address, and then a vehicle will be routed from the civic transit system over to pick you up. What are the rest of you doing?
Is there a way that we can follow them?
Yeah. Riddle, are you joining in this escapade?
If it's happening now, then yeah, I will be involved in it.
Because you're waiting around to when you can go see Takuchi, right? You're not doing anything else.
Well, my whole suit is look. There's this whole moisture issue, and I can't exactly go see someone like Takuchi looking like this. And also, I can feel it. I can feel it. It's on my skin. It's probably rotting right now. Like it's probably just a whole rash of rotting under my suit.
So are you unwilling to help Marley? Is that what you're saying?
No, it's like I said. If it's happening now, sure.
Good. Pony up. It's time to go.
What are we doing? Are we just watching them hand off their ear? You're very sure about giving them your ear.
I'm sure. I don't know what other choice I have.
Again, we could destroy them and anyone they've ever talked to and go back several generations and erase all of them from human history going here forward.
Could we do that without them killing my brother?
Probably.
Yes, unless it's definitely, then no.
Do you think you could keep us hidden, perhaps, Riddle, as we follow?
I could work on something.
I'll arrange transportation, and we will try to be as close as possible, Marley.
I appreciate it.
So the vehicle arrives, Blade Runner style air car kind of sets down with that door pops open. You get inside. Driver sort of with the it's one of those Uber privacy Ubers, so the driver can't even see who you are kind of thing. You get in the box that's in the back, and it'll shut and it will lift off. Gabriel, you have your vehicle brought around, and the 3 of you can load into that. And Riddle, you want to try and conceal this vehicle from others in the Vale?
Yeah. Yeah, I want to try and add it basically, or hide it like behind the walls of adware.
Okay.
Like have us blend in with the holographic parts of the veil that like people are physically avoiding.
This feels like reconfigure.
And I'm gonna tap my backup simulation,
Okay.
Specifically for the biometric jammer.
Sounds good.
As I'm gonna try and make sure that we don't set off any just like passive, oh, there's a person here sensors. This this will be one last time with 0 power.
Here you go. With the +1.
That's 7.
It's a 7. Pick 2 options.
So we are trying to stay hidden. So I'm gonna go with the changes not noticed.
Okay.
Now, can I ask a question? Help is always just a +1, or can it raise it to the next level?
It's always just a +1.
Okay, I just wanted to check.
And I don't need the imagination, so I'm not going to suffer feedback because I think whatever aspect of my subconscious that pops out here, this would be the first time like in front of the rest of the group. So I think that would be interesting.
So I imagine that you're piloting, Gabriel. Heller, I think you will realize that there is a 4th person in the vehicle.
Really?
Yeah, kind of in Riddle's probably in the front seat, passenger side, kind of doing the manipulations. You're probably in the back, and you become aware that there is a 4th person there.
Okay. And I think I do a mad blink because I'm trying to understand what's going on there. And I'm like, I sort of, am I sitting next to him?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll kind of do a, like, put my elbow, like I kind of actually go for a physical thing to test into him.
Riddle, what does this jilted lover of yours look like?
So
a picture of them?
There is actually a picture on the NPC tab, Ares template. But he looks dangerous. You know, the non Shadowrun version, this world version of a street samurai sort of cutter look to him, with very like morbid and industrial tattoos across his face.
And this figure kind of leans back, kind of away from you, looks at you, Heller, and says, he's not really worth it because he's a coward.
And I kind of, who?
Riddle. And you hear that from the back seat, Riddle. This voice that haunts you sometimes. Say your name.
Yeah, I think Riddle like turns and what? And there's a moment of we almost swerve into traffic because I'm not watching where our lanes are supposed to be at the moment. Nothing can pick us up.
I'm like, wait a minute, you know this guy? Why is he riding with us?
What are you doing?
What is going on back there?
Do you want to tell him or should I, Riddle?
I'm sitting here in the back seat with him. Okay.
Shouldn't tell them anything. You're not real. You're not even here.
You'll find out when he finally betrays you.
This is just problem with the programming. It's just you shouldn't even pay attention to it.
He's not an alien, is he?
He's gone.
Did I hear it?
No,
Yeah.
he's not an alien.
Oh, did I? Oh,
Yeah.
He was way too judgmental to have been an alien.
Did you let someone through into our car?
No, that wasn't some. That wasn't someone. That was only. That wasn't into. Look, it's someone that I don't want to talk about, but they weren't really here. They're somewhere else. It was just a piece of, like, an old text message getting played out on front of everyone's phone in the entire school, so the whole cafeteria can laugh at you. That sort of thing.
Oh, I get it. It's a psychic protection, isn't it?
No, it's totally different from a psychic projection, but in effect, if that makes this faster and we don't have to keep talking about it, yes.
Cool. He like manifested it right here next to me. That is awesome.
Again, none of that is how it works, but let's just move on because
So like,
we have a
did you
job
actually
to do,
know
right?
that dude? Because he was like scary looking.
He's not scary. He tries to look into. I don't want to talk about it.
Have you masked us, Riddle?
Yes, we should be. We're fine from the outside.
We will discuss what your visitor meant.
Wasn't a
We have
visitor.
time.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Yes. Okay.
Be alert.
Marley?
I think what he's saying is that was him saying that he's a coward.
Oh.
Marley, there will be the vehicle kind of comes up and touches down, and the door will open, and you're on the rooftop, with that kind of light, misty rain up here, and the roof. There are scrub bots trying to keep it clean, but they can't keep up with the stuff up here, so it's kind of weirdly slick. And you will see that there's a figure in a long coat, kind of reinforced, can tell that it's slightly armored. He's got a couple people sort of in the back, and a more thin figure that looks to be your brother, who has some kind of dermal gag over his mouth. And the gentleman says, I hope that we can conduct this exchange
I have it
amicably.
here. I had a friend remove it for me.
Excellent, excellent. And he'll step forward and he says, may I see the merchandise?
Yeah, I hold it out, like, kind of just on my palm, like very obviously non-threatening.
You see him kind of take a little dermal
Okay.
pad, kind of clearly like checks something. And he says, okay. And he'll gesture to one of the guys behind him, and that guy will come forward with your brother. And he will say, now you hand me the ear, and my associate here will hand you your brother.
I do. Yeah, I'll hand it to him.
Okay. He will take the ear, and you'll see him place it essentially within his reinforced coat, and he'll gesture, and they'll push your brother forward. And he will say, I'm going to transmit a code now to you for a coupon for your transport back.
All right.
You can set the destination as you will. Feel free to use whatever credits you want. And he'll push your brother forward, and then they'll step back, and he kind of steps back, and he's clearly waiting for you to go with your brother.
Okay. Yeah, I will call an Uber basically, and let's see if I can do anything weird here.
I'm assuming Riddle, Gabriel, Heller, you're kind of in this vehicle, the weird adware, you're kind of waiting to see what Marley's going to do.
I call the Uber, and as it arrives, I want to do something odd here, and tell me if this is completely off base. I want to create an anchor.
What do you want to anchor? What do you want to anchor?
This building. Okay, wait, is the guy I handed the ear to still here?
Yeah, he's clearly like waiting for you to go, and then you guess he's going to
Okay.
call a vehicle to pick him up and his team.
Cool. Yeah, I would like to create an anchor outside of my homeland. And the way I would like this location to echo the qualities or states of my homeland is that it will be peaceful.
Okay. Let's have you roll for that.
Okay. Let's see. I don't think this is power. It's also not peace. It's also not. It's either mad or fear. I think I'm mad.
Okay.
Like this is a fucked up thing for someone to be doing. I'm also mad at Zephyr for like getting both of us into this situation. Like this is I am confused. I do not like being confused. And I don't know what the hell's going on. This is way like I am in way over my head and I know it, and it's very frustrating. So yeah, I am mad. It's 1. That's a 12.
That is a 12. On a hit, the anchor is strong and clear and the transformation begins. Gain 1 essence. So what does that look like when you create an anchor? Like, what do we see? Is it visible? Is it invisible? You're on top of a big building.
I think the only change we actually see is in the rain.
Okay.
Like just before it hits, like normally it would hit and it would get kind of, it still gets kind of foggy as it hits this like, asphalt roof, but it instead it's getting foggy farther up and it's just turning this really thick like pea soup mist.
And is there something you want to do with this anchor when you have it set there? You have a few moments, they're going to expect you to leave. They're going to call their vehicle. You have a few moments before that happens.
Right. Okay. So it's peaceful. My idea for the peaceful is like they're not going to be able to attack.
Okay.
Mostly because they can't see us. Beyond that,
if you just want to make sure that it goes through safely, like you get the anchor and you get them set, then absolutely.
Yeah. And I have the anchor and like this is my version of marking something.
Okay.
I think that's actually good enough.
Yeah. I think you'll get into the vehicle. They stop. No one draws weapons. No one draws extra things to scan or to put a tag or anything like that. They clearly just kind of wait for you to go.
Cool.
And Riddle, Tyler, Heller, you'll see Marley and her brother load up into this vehicle and they will take off. And the people don't attempt to pursue them.
That was easy. We should do kidnap stuff more often.
Well, we are the ones who paid this time around.
I really still don't understand this whole interaction. Is now the point when we attack them?
No point in attacking them at this time. Heller, send word to Marley, find out where we can intercept them so that whoever the driver is won't know too much of their destination. And I suppose we should know more about these people, right?
That seems like a thing that we are going to wrestle with next time.
Can I
use
my scrutinize to pull up a piece of necessary equipment as we head out? I drop a little tracer probe to stay here and watch.
Absolutely.
And
I think you can actually wait until their vehicle comes and drop a tracker on them.
Bam.
That seems like a fair enough thing. So you can get a discrete concealed tracker combining your skills and Riddles. And that's where we'll stop for today, where we'll take up. Okay.
Perfect. That's what I wanted to do, and I had no resources or move to do it.
So it's all good. It's all good.
That's why we're a team, baby.
Let's take a quick 5 break, and then I want to come back and talk about some mechanical stuff, system-wise, some things we saw, maybe some other things we're thinking about, and kind of do just a little bit of discussion about that. Okay.
Awesome.
So I do want to talk sort of mechanically about what we've got so far, things that we might have impressions on. I want to talk about, like, if I were to name like the 5 objectives that I have in writing this, I want to lay those out. So this sort of establishing intention before we kind of go to feedback and discussion. I wanted to simplify some of the rules, or at least clarify them in places. There were some places where I was uncertain about how the rules worked and got lost in those. I wanted to expand the options for the different playbooks so that the playbooks could go in different directions. I wanted to increase utility of cybernetics as a factor in play. I wanted to figure out a way to make obligation both more useful and more interesting, but still have it be kind of a rich text that we work with. And I also wanted to, and this kind of goes a little bit to the simplification, to make some of the moves that seemed a little redundant, like cut to some and focus in those moves and eliminate some redundancy there. So those are some of my objectives as we go through. So I'd like to get people's impressions, particularly about things you liked, didn't like, or points where you felt friction. So we'll do Tyler, can I kind of start with you? We'll kind of do a go around here.
I want to start by saying I like a whole lot of what we're doing here. I think you have made the playbook moves really interesting, really engaging. I like what the executive's playbook moves are. I think they're fun. I think that's working. I think that the crux of my playbook, I think the services are really nifty. But I sort of think there's a problem with cost on those. And I'd like to make a suggestion.
Well, let me ask you this. So what's your feeling about, like, what do you feel is the problem with the cost here? Let me have you define that before we kind of go to solutions.
Okay. I think the services at a 2 capital cost for a session of use is not quite on scale with what the creds for that same cost might buy. And I think churning through that capital, doing the neat things with services, kind of adds rich flavor to the playbook. And I felt like I needed to hang on to my my capital, and wasn't engaging with it. I made a point this time. I'm gonna spend capital and engage it, but at 2 capital for 1 session of activity.
Yeah. So, but it's additional perks, right?
It's additional perks from what I have there.
Okay.
And in a conversion that we have set, we know 1 capital, 2 cred. So for 2, you're getting 4 cred worth just flat of what that'll give. I love it because I think it's the charter. It's the one that makes it neat for the executive. I sort of feel like that a 1 capital spend for a session makes you turn it over quicker.
Yeah, and it certainly would incentivize that, because you start out with 2 that you always get and you can always call on. And if you want to go beyond that, yeah, that makes sense.
And even maybe like have a step up where you spend 3 capital and you get to add one to the long list. Now, they're not, because these aren't always able to be called on. It is mechanized that they can be stripped from you because you have to stay in good graces, and we have the mechanism of the obligatory missions.
Mm-hmm.
You can fall out of favor pretty easily. Well, relatively, it's a
Yeah, we haven't seen exactly how hard that is, but it
Right.
does seem like there's a possibility of it.
And so then you could be stripped from it completely. So I like the idea of the quick churn for an immediate buy into a bigger one. And of course, they're all still conditional. I mean, there's still a limiter on it.
Mm-hmm.
That's just where I'm coming at from that, because I think that's super neat. It adds the flavor. It is the move of the playbook. And that way we move through that capital quicker. We see it in play. It's fictional positioning, so it's not, in its use, isn't particularly mechanized. It's just cool shit you get to do.
I think it's a really interesting point, because certainly when I wrote this, I didn't picture that as like a key element. Like, I imagine it as kind of frippery, but you've made it into a strong point, and I do think reducing that cost and incentivizing it makes sense. I'm going to come back to you on other points, but that's a really good observation there. If I come around character keeper order, Patrick, can I come to you, talk about some stuff?
Sure. Let's see what I think's working really well. I think the cybernetics, and we talked about this last time. I think the cybernetics are working really well. I love getting to tag into them several times a session. You, as a design aesthetic, putting together this rewrite of it, you've been fairly stingy with things that give like advantage or more than a +1 bonus. So having that +1 bonus off of tagging them feels like a good thing, because you're sort of like, there aren't a lot of ways to get them, so I'm glad I have this one, sort of thing. And you can choose to have up to 3 cybernetics, and that's up to 3 times per session. I don't feel like that's overwhelming. I'm still interested in finding ways to describe how my cybernetics are coming in. Looking at the architect in particular, the class, like, I've picked up 2 more moves from in the playbook. There are more moves still in the playbook that I want to pick up. They don't feel like they're stepping over each other too much, and I really have felt with each one like I am expanding greatly, like what I can sort of deal with. And that's not even like I've sort of had blinders on and not let myself look at like moves from other playbooks, which I know there are moves from other playbooks I would want to pick up. So I feel like the future there in advancement is laid out well. Plus, there are a couple like in playbook things I can use advancements to level up. There's lots of things I want to spend advancements on. That's good. I will say the easiest point of friction I can call out for my playbook is that I have had 3 imagination points since the first session, and last session was the first time I have spent 1, and it was like on a 7 to 9 roll or something. Like there's no proactive way built into the class for me to spend my imagination points, so they're just sort of, it's a pool that sat there in case I use this move, and in case when I use that move I roll a 7 to 9, I'll have an imagination there to spend on it, sort of.
So it feels like we don't have enough ways to meaningfully use imagination.
Yeah, there's
it's interesting because we've kind of flipped from when we were initially deciding this. We were worried that we weren't doing the economy okay, that's a really good thing to know, though.
It starts with the required move. The required move doesn't have any spending imagination in it, and then the next move that I chose to start out with just didn't interact with imagination at all. I've picked up 2 more moves, and I still only have a, like, if it rolls poorly, you can spend an imagination here. There's no proactive way to do it.
Okay. That's a really good thing to know.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing I've noticed from my playbook.
Okay. I'm going to come back to you. Marley / Bethany. Thoughts?
I think actually my thoughts were kind of similar to Patrick's until I'm actually looking through the playbook moves that I haven't taken, and I just have coincidentally taken the ones that don't require essence. And I was like, what do I do with this essence? And then I'm actually looking through it. I was like, oh, okay. Some of these moves that I haven't taken do, like, yeah, you know, spend 1 essence to do this, or roll plus essence spent. So I guess, like, I think it's potentially I would be using it and generating it. I somehow, yeah, have do I have any that require it? Oh, okay. I did just pick up one at the end of last session that does require it. So if I want to use that, I will be interacting with that currency at some point.
But there is a possibility, like, it is set up so that it is possible to build your character such that essence
and just like completely, yeah, like the which is inconvenient, since like nourish is the like core, or like the starting playbook move. And you know, one of its options is gain 2 essence.
Yeah, I think that's really a really good point to take a look at. I knew this is going to be like that. That's a real challenge, is figuring out how to get that balance right.
Yeah. And each playbook has its own currency that, like, that you get in different ways.
Yeah. Sherry, let me come to you, and then we'll come back around to Tyler.
I think in some ways, my thing is about my currency well, which is scrap. And one of the things that it occurs to me is that Tyler has, like, at the beginning of a session, a little bit where he talks about whatever he's doing with credit or whatever, right? Or his capital. There's like that thing. I almost think like it would be really nice for everyone's currency to have a thing of, is there something that they're doing with it? Like, are they getting more? Because, like, when we're in the middle of things, I am hesitant to go, oh, I'm going to scrounge around. It's like, it's the same thing as being a thief. You know, it's not a very social constructive thing. And also, when things are happening quickly, you don't want to bore everyone with your tedious scrounge roll, you know. So it's that kind of thing of maybe just have a thing at the top of, you know, what kind of scrounging did you have a chance to do? What did you take? You know, that kind of thing. You make a quick roll and you have a way to just at least establish that you've done something like that. It's also a life thing.
Yeah, I wonder if, and I think this is what you're saying, and it hadn't occurred to me. I'm so used to, like, a start a session move doing X. I wonder if we have, for everybody, start a session moves that, okay, you start a session move, you can either use it to start a session, generate resources, or use those resources in a particular way.
Exactly.
Like, you always have that option to do one or the other in some way.
That would be lovely, if you ask me. Because I would allow Riddle to build things that would allow Marley to, you know, work on bringing their world into this, you know, this city. So
that's a really interesting idea. Yeah, because I have such an image of what how start a session looks. So
I think that this is a way to go, let's acknowledge all of the things that everyone does, and that that's always a theme. And then everyone's kind of got it cognizant, you know, has a certain cognizance of it.
Yeah. Tyler, can I come back around to you?
Yes. We haven't really been addressing some of the like interpersonal. We haven't been. First off, is inner conflict in this generating an XP when you go into it?
Let me see how that.
It is not as written.
It's not. So as written, it is not. As written, XP is XP on a miss, and the potential for up to 3 XP from those questions.
It feels like in Hearts we have it occur a lot, and we have not had it occur at all in this game.
Mm-hmm. Does that feel like a bad thing or a good thing or just a thing?
It's a question of, is it a move that needs to be there, or is it a move that we need to be addressing or coming into use more?
Mm-hmm.
I like the move as in general, but as is, it is almost something that should be called by the GM. You should be engaging inner conflict. But if we're not using it, there's no point for it being there.
Mm-hmm.
Is it about our relationships to the other people, or is it about our obligations and then what we want? Is this inner conflict us versus our obligations, or is it us to, our relationship to other people in the group? I think we need to define that first, and then we understand what inner conflict is for.
Right, and we're not generating a bunch of extra obligation. I don't think any of us have picked up or expanded obligations beyond what we started.
We've paid some down, but we haven't started an economy of obligation.
And we've talked before of my kind of thought on obligation in a bunch of different iterations of the Veil. I wonder. There are times I think excising it. There are other times I think we need to play with it more.
I'm with you. I have the same problem, less so now than I did, but like Urban Shadows with the debt system in there, I always thought it should work, but it never really did. I feel like we're getting towards something, but at the same time, it's a lot of work. I wonder. I mean, cutting it would be a big step.
It's a big step,
but it might make the game, especially if you've got inner conflict, to kind of take some of that social pressure, and you lean into that. That's really interesting.
Yeah, it took us really deciding to start making people call it obligation, or we got one today to get that 10, which is nice.
Yeah.
But as we're playing now, we're not making any new ones.
Yeah, I mean, inner conflict and bonds might be just equivalent. And then taking the honor bound and really reworking it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, there's the link move that starts creating them. It's just we don't use link much, and that's what we're saying as well. There's a basic move that is there for it. If we don't have it, that's just gone.
We have used link to create new NPCs though throughout.
We have used it.
Like I would say that's probably been a more used move, and but I agree that there's a problem. There's a basic problem with obligation that needs to be reappraised.
So there's my bit to start off with. It's obligation and kind of that idea of what's going on with the intimacy thing.
Inner conflict, especially if we have intimacy moves as well. Intimacy moves. We haven't done any of those. That's another thing we haven't hit. Now, mind you, I don't think you should hit intimacy moves that often, but we haven't hit them at all. So where do they fit in the context of inner conflict and obligation? Patrick, can I swing back to you?
Sure. So I had thoughts on basically the same two subsystems. And that we've not been interacting with them, or it's been sort of forced, so they're not doing quite what they want to be doing. Mm-hmm. I'll say with the inner conflict, like I guess I've sort of been waiting for you to call for one. In my mind, I'm like, I've played so many games of Hearts of Wulin with Lowell, like he's gonna wink at us at some point and say, like, press the inner conflict button, because that happens like 15 times a session with LOL. And I've just sort of been surprised that you haven't. And Sherry may have hit on something sort of key to it, of like it's a lot more obvious in the setup of Hearts of Wulin. Like, your inner conflicts are because either your personal desire conflicts with the society's desire, or your personal desire conflicts with someone else's desire, and like everybody has those complicated webs, and all of the game moves talk about those sort of philosophies, so you're constantly engaging in that area. And I don't know if Cyberpunk's is more like what you believe versus what you have to do to survive, or what the Veil is trying to say about Cyberpunk, but there's having the entanglements there in the class, and like if there were multiple entanglements and we leaned into that more as part of the system, that might be like, oh, okay, well, I can see why I have an inner conflict here. But otherwise, like, figuring out what in the game, what in the environment presses in to trigger an inner conflict. Because I do think it definitely has potential with the spikes in the emotion system to interact in really interesting ways.
And there's the thing in the earliest iteration of the Veil of having these belief statements and getting XP for challenging them, which feels like a kind of inner conflict that, it seems broadening that out, being clearer.
And I think the obligations are hitting up against a similar idea.
Yeah.
Where like when you finally clarified that there was a thing of like spend the obligation to tempt someone with an XP, I was like, oh, okay, I guess so. This is like strings from Monster Hearts. But again, there are a couple of other uses for strings in Monster Hearts, even against other PCs, so it's a bit more varied. But also, similarly, like everything in Monster Hearts is built to tell you that you're going head to head in these emotional and romantic situations with the other PCs, or if you can't find a PC to beat up, I guess you can beat up an NPC. But everything in Monster Hearts tells you that you're playing antagonistically, you're playing aggressively, and there's not a lot in the basic moves and in the ethos of the game that's pointing us to, like, why do we have to spend obligations to make our friends help us with things we need? We feel like friends who are helping each other, so if he really disagrees, like, I guess we could have an argument, but it doesn't feel necessary to have the obligations at the moment.
The feelings that we get, the bonds, the connection, and what obligation is doing in the game.
Yeah.
Needs to go into the inner conflict. It needs to be something else, and I think obligations. I think that needs to go.
Obligation should be to forces outside of the group.
That's what I was also going to say. Is in the moves we have written here, it's a lot clearer how to use obligations on NPCs. We just don't have very many situations where we're getting obligations on NPCs.
Yeah,
like it took several fucked up rolls in a row for me to give some obligations to an NPC, and that's still dependent on you to remember to call them in, or me to not be obsessed with the storyline, which I am. But if there were an easier way to get and be beholden to obligations with NPCs, there's a really great little move and system. Like, it's obvious when NPCs don't want to do what you want to do, and you have to push on them. That's a lot easier to engage with, I think.
Okay, that's really good for thought.
But yeah, maybe it's something where inner conflict handles these moments with other PCs, and obligation handles it with NPCs, or I don't know. I'm trying to stay away from solutions. That's a solution.
No.
I'm just presenting my problems.
The obligations, inner conflict, intimacy. There are a whole set of things that are overlapping. Bethany, anything else you want to throw in?
Well, so like you also have a system of like complications and conflicts that for each playbook, which kind of, yeah, I mean, having obligations and your currency and creds, like this is a lot of currencies, I guess,
Yeah,
and a lot of,
that's right.
a lot of forces. So I'm inclined to be, I don't know that I've ever really used obligation
Yeah.
in a Veil game. Like I've played it many times, sometimes through long campaigns. I don't know that I've ever used obligation.
That's yeah.
Even against NPCs.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I was thinking is, so back to Sherry's start of session moves, like a lot of start of session moves are kind of two-part. It's like roll to find out what the state of the thing your playbook is concerned about is, and then as a reaction to it, or as a result of that, you know, you gain or spend your currency to do something about that. I don't know, like, I'm not sure where I was going with that.
Other than the shape of the start of session that I really wanted. It was more like you know, are you going to scrounge, or are you taking some of your scrap and turning it into something? It's like a sort of question of your mode.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Yeah, yours in particular does this weird thing of generating stuff, but also then creating a problem that you then have to spend your stuff to solve. It does feel like, I don't know, a tautology there that it feels like those need to get maybe split out in a way that allows you to go in a couple of different directions, but each of them being more meaningful. Yeah, but I think you're right on that. Will you take a look at that this week and like think about how you would want that move to look, like what you would want it to do? Because you're kind of deep in that playbook. So I'd love to get your impression on like what you think would be a cool thing that wouldn't feel like, okay, now I got to roll to see if stuff has been lost or not, and to get my currency. Is that okay?
I assume you were talking to Sherry there.
I'm talking to you, Bethany.
That's okay. Yes, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Yeah. Because I do feel like you're, and actually now that you say it, yeah, I think you and Sherry, if you both look at that start of session and think about what you would want as that dimensions of that you think would be interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I can, you know, I'm thinking right now, like, what is the state of your homeland or your connection with your homeland?
Mm-hmm.
And then like you know, you gain essence or you spend essence to do something about the state of that. But like, it feels like start of session moves. I don't know how often they actually work like this in any game, but like, it seems like they're meant to sort of generate an immediate thing to do,
Mm-hmm.
like an immediate action to take.
Yeah. But with yours, it almost feels like you're rolling to see how much money I'm sending home. Like,
right, yeah. Which like that's kind of interesting, but like I would kind of like the other part of that too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, what care package did you get this time?
Mm-hmm.
So
what's the payoff for that?
Right. Like what's happening in your home world, you know, or homeland that you need to do something about or not.
Well, if you two would think about that, I would appreciate that.
Yeah.
Sherry, anything else you want to throw in the fire?
No, it is. I think I like the entanglement, the drive, and the question. But in some ways, I almost think that there's a thing of where we need to be like, I don't want to say that we need a cookie for engaging those things explicitly, but there should be that sort of check-in, where you have your entanglement, your, like, if you're doing something for your drive once per session, you can say this is part of my drive, so I take a +1. And then that way you're thinking about it. And your question is like, I'm not, it doesn't all have to be cookies, but if there's something that you can do with it, like that you could use your question to help someone, essentially, because it's about how you interact with the world or something like that.
It sounds sort of like ticking your values in the Star Trek game.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Do you think, let me ask you this, do you think you'd want that in addition to the XP reward or instead of?
You got to get XP somehow, but
yeah,
I do think that if you're looking at them and you're talking about how your drive fits for that moment, it does make that theme clearer to yourself and to other people. Because one of the things is when this game is sort of functioning on all cycles, you're getting like this great thematic play between the books.
I wonder if you could, I don't know how this would work, but I wonder if there's would be a way to tie drive to a particular state, like to give yourself, to connect it that way.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Or maybe that's a use for inner conflict.
Yeah.
Is your drive.
Yeah, let me think about that. This is clearly going to take me a couple of weeks to process and think about a rewrite of obligation. But this is really good feedback. Like, this is useful, and I think you are all right on the money on obligation. I think it's an artifact of the earlier game. It may not be necessary in terms of how we play. Other things that we've added in can take its place better. I need to look at how that works.
It certainly doesn't seem to be that great for PC work.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'm going to stop there because that's a lot of information for me to process. But I appreciate you all giving me the feedback there. And I think I'm going to stop the recording.